Now, this is the crab that I killed that caused me to ding level 40. Level 40 was my first major milestone. For those that didn't play in Vanilla WoW previously, hitting level 40 was a big milestone. I mean, even during BC it was, because you know that was your first mount, and you get a bunch of new core key abilities that you wouldn't get otherwise. And you know, near the end of BC, they reduced the amount of XP it took to get from 1 to 60 by like 30% or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty hard to hit 40 back then. It took some time, and like I said, that was my first, you know, major milestone, and I was so fucking psyched. Because all I really wanted was a striped frost saber. In fact, I had actually already bought it around level 35-ish, but I just couldn't use it. So, you know, I did that, and I got my mount, and I think I spent like 5 days doing nothing but just running in circles around Stormwind on my mount, and I was just so fucking psyched about this mount. And here's where I hit level 60 in Silithus. I dinged by discovery. I remember a good warlock friend of mine that I used to level with, that I met him around 25-ish range out in Lakeshire, and I had a small party before I got to farming the gold for my epic mount, which was just horrible. Farming 1,000 gold back then was stupid hard back then. Especially, I mean, it's like the equivalent of farming like 10,000 gold now without dailies, and when no professions were really that profitable. I don't think I'll ever stop regretting the fact that if I was only 3 days faster with getting that 1,000 gold, I could be riding on a non-armored epic mount and have my old school achievement. But whatever. Okay, so after I hit level 60, I decided I was going to be feral. I had leveled as feral, and I had been feral since the day I was able to put talent points in, and I liked it. Now, by this time I was in a popular raiding guild on the server by the name of Perpetual Affinity. We weren't by any means the best, but we were noticed. I remember I used to listen on TeamSpeak at the time during raids. I used to listen before I was level capped and able to raid, but I would just listen. I would never talk, but I would just listen to them raid, you know, molten core all night. And I remember the incredible amounts of excitement there would be when they would down a boss for the first time. A few weeks after I hit 60, I was running around in Azshara farming Fellcloth to sell for my epic mount, and I got an invite. I actually got an invite. That was a big deal. I had never been invited to a raid before, and they got me down there, and I had already done my attunement from just leveling, and burning steps and all that good stuff, but I had never actually gone into MC and taken a look around and seen those, you know, first 2 huge giants. And it was a big deal when, you know, it wasn't, you know, just 4 other people in there. It was like 30 something people along with me, all buffing up and all that crazy stuff. Now there was a kid in our guild, a little older than me at the time, I believe. Well, I guess he'd still be older than me. His name is and was Hammerfall, except spelled AR fall as opposed to ER. He was a dwarf prot warrior, just like the one that you see on the front of your WoW box, that he tanked for the guild. I remember listening to all of them congratulate him on his tier 1 shoulders when he got him, and I remember sitting there thinking, you know, wow, I want to be like him. You know, little did I know that I was gonna have to go to hell and back if I was to ever be taken seriously as a feral druid tank at the time. Anyway, I'm in there, and I was doing kitty DPS, and one of the raid leaders told me to start healing, so of course I did. We spent all night in there, and I had a great time seeing, 30-something other people, all level 60, cooperating to complete one global goal. And then there was Hammerfall, right there tanking all of it, while, there were 20 plus DPS and 8 to 11 healers, including myself, etc. There was this one little warrior at the front of every mob, getting focused on by all of them. It was really an inspirational night for me, to say the least. Anyway, a few months go by, and I'm getting invited to raids, every once in a while. Obviously not all the time, because I'm not really the best of my class, let alone healing as a feral spec druid. But one night, we're on Gar, and we needed an extra tank. And out of nowhere, somebody in Vent was like, "Nolly, just go bear and tank the circle." My heart skipped a beat. And I like to believe that if it wasn't for me having to do something, I would have simply just fainted. So I swapped into what bear gear I had, that being, 4 pieces of feral heart gear and a bunch of stamina greens. Now, for those that didn't play back in the day, you need to understand why ferals, especially as tanks, weren't taken seriously. For those who have a feral tank in your guild, I want you to picture that bear without mangle, without a swipe that hits more than 3 targets, without a lacerate, without infected wounds, that's a bear's thunderclap, without being able to quickly shift out and back into forms, because there was a 1-second global cooldown between shifting. Weapon enchants and uses have a 0% chance to proc while shapeshifted. Not being able to use pots or health stones while in form. Fairy Fire doesn't do any damage or threat. And they're crittable. That was me. Anyway, I got in, and I picked up my ad and tanked him perfectly. I never died, and the kill went pretty smoothly. That was pretty much the highlight of my vanilla rating. I remember that we were never able to get past Domo and MC without having to bring, Ultra Vitae or JC members in to help us. Ultra Vitae was the top guild on the server at the time, with JC following. But whatever, it was still well worth it to even make attempts on those bosses.